Well, hey, welcome to Crossroads and Catalyst, the podcast with Shanita B. I am your host. This is where we discuss the thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at a crossroads can be the catalyst for change. Today, we are talking about what I think has been a misdeed committed against a lot of people, dream killers. So, we're going to investigate and do some forensics so that we can get to the bottom of it. A lot of people have put their dreams on hold or have just cast them in the trash altogether because of, well, they just don't think that they can do it. Whether that has come from internal or they've heard enough people that have said to them, probably falsely, and I'm going to commit to saying not just probably, but falsely have led them to believe that they are incapable of pursuing something greater down the road. So, think about it. You've decided that you've been in the role that you're in for far too long, or you're just disinterested anymore. It provides no level of satisfaction. Maybe you don't like your boss, maybe you don't like your colleagues, or you're just over it and you're ready to do something different. But when you've had conversations, when you've thought through it a bit more, you've just hit a wall, or you've heard other people, or you've seen other people attempt to do something similar, and maybe it just hasn't panned out the way that you thought that it should, or even the way that they thought that it should. This is problematic, and a lot of people have encountered this over the course of their careers and they're feeling stuck. I don't want you to feel stuck. There are always options available to you. The question is, how serious and committed are you in order to pursue those goals? I have seen over the course of my career many people who have wanted to go down the path of trying to do something slightly better, progress just a little bit. And by a little bit, that can mean anything at this point. But the fact that you want to do something different and you're just tired of being pigeonholed is reason enough for you to gather the information that you need in order to be informed so that you can make a good decision for yourself. I've seen people that have applied for jobs and they were not even given an opportunity to interview, though they were perfectly capable of doing the job. Well, why is that? Well, there's a culture in some organizations while they put on this image and persona for the external world to see, they're not really at all interested in retaining or promoting people from within the organization. It's one of those things where it's in writing so that it looks good, but in reality, that's not what's happening. And again, I've seen several people do this. And more recently, with just within the last several years, I've seen where this has occurred. And in one of the positions that I've held, I actually asked the person, well, hey, why didn't you apply for this job? And this person thought about it and she carefully considered the why behind it. And she didn't give me a response right away, but she did consider it. And I asked her, well, what's going on? Because you seem like you're perfectly capable of doing the job. So I'm just curious. And when after she considered it, after a little bit of time, she came back and she said, well, part of the reason why I didn't apply for the job again is because in the past, when I did consider it, I was not given any consideration for it. Basically, she was overlooked. Now, there could be a number of reasons as to why a person would do that, but in an organization that holds itself out and wants to be held in high regard and says that they abide by certain principles and characteristics, when they fall from that standard, it's problematic because what it does is it lowers morale and it shows people internally that you're not serious about your values. And this person, once she did, revisit the conversation, she basically let me know that she was satisfied where she was and that she didn't have the desire any further to pursue a higher role, but that she was appreciative of the fact that I would even ask why she didn't pursue that position. And, I'm glad that she at least recognized that I cared enough to wonder why and have a conversation with her about it. But, when you're in a situation where you've worked for people who have demonstrated that they could not care less about who you are, your skills and abilities and competencies, and how you can assist with carrying out the duties and getting the job done and getting it done well, at that point, you do have a decision to make. You have to determine if you're satisfied where you are, and maybe you're just going to ride it out until retirement so that you can ride off into the sunset, or you're going to pivot and do something different. And this is where we're going to segue into some of the dream killers and how to identify those, because I think that they fall into two different categories. You have your internal and you have your external dream killers. The external would be with just the example that I just provided, where maybe you have a boss who is saying one thing but is doing another. We can't really help what these people do. All we can do is help how we respond to these type of people. And again, gather the information that we need to make a good decision. But then you also have people who will project their fears upon you. I don't know if you've ever worked with people who have basically made it made it very plain that they are not necessarily satisfied with where they are, but they're apathetic and they're just not as interested in doing something about their current circumstances. So if you voice your thoughts and opinions about wanting to do something different, they don't have anything nice to say. And if they do, it's shrouded in passive aggressiveness. These are the kind of people who you definitely want to distance yourself from because they don't have anything good for you. I've had the privilege, I think, and the pleasure of working with a lot of people over the course of my career who have been nothing but encouraging, but I know that it's not that way with everyone. And it's definitely not a fun place in which to find yourself where you feel like you're pretty much caged in and that you can't do anything and can't go anywhere. But you definitely want to identify those type of people so that you recognize that these are the type of people with whom you do not want to share your goals and aspirations because they don't have anything good for you except for a trash can. And the trash can is to dump all of your dreams into it so that they can take it out with the garbage at the end of the day. So stay far away from those people because they are no good for you. And then, of course, we already talked about the bosses. You know, a lot of people talk a good game, but you have to show me. I need to see that you are actually serious. So if you have a boss and you have tried to have some conversations with this leader and let them know, hey, I'm interested in pursuing something greater. Are there positions that are going to be opening up within the department or even within the organization? I'd really be interested in pursuing those and seeing where that could go. Well, if they don't have anything good to say to you, or you've inquired about some things and they never get back with you, they pretty much dodge or all out ignore your requests for more information. They've made it pretty plain to you that they're not interested in helping you to pursue your goals. And to be sure, it's not their responsibility to do so, but if you're asking questions, if they've at least given you a cloak of or semblance of assistance or try to make it appear as if they will assist you, well then again, that's the writing is on the wall for that. So you definitely want to make sure that you place them in the appropriate category, which is people who are not willing and able to assist you. Well, what about family and friends? Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who will pull you down the fastest, and they will do what they call a reality check and just try to help you to see that you just can't get ahead. I don't have a lot of patience for people like this. And part of that is because I never grew up in a family that was like that. My mother and father were extremely supportive of me and my sisters as we were growing up. And it was never even a thought or a concern that you couldn't do anything. That's all that I ever heard is that you can do it. You have the ability, you have the skill set, you can do whatever it is that you put your mind to. And because I believe that, I've built a life for myself based on the support and the encouragement of my parents and my siblings. My siblings are the same way. But there are a lot of you who don't have a family structure that is encouraging to you. They are just as jealous and just as vindictive as any enemy or stranger on the street that you might encounter. And so, what I would say to you in that regard is first, you have to understand that every dream that you have or anything else that's going on in your life, it may not necessarily need to be shared with the people closest to you. You have to identify who the people who are on your side are and give credence and validity to them. Remember, check your resources and check your sources. If someone is coming to you with bad information and trying to make you believe that the shift that you want to make or the goal for which you're striving is just too far out of reach, you'll never be able to make it. It just, people are no good and they won't help you. You have to shut down those voices. It is up to you to shut down those voices. And I know that it's not always going to be easy to do that because we want to share something that we think is exciting. We want to share uh, ideas and we want to get people's feedback to help us to determine if this is something that's good for us. But if all you're ever getting is negative feedback, well, then the first thing in this process is recognizing that you shouldn't share information with them because they're no good for you. And, think about this too. You have societal expectations that tend to box you in because you might be really good at job A, but you want to try job B. And again, this kind of goes back to where you're working and the type of structure that is in that organization. It might make it very difficult for you to move to another position. And I know people who have actually boxed themselves in and determined that it might be a little too difficult for me to do something different, but they wanted to do something different. I think a lot of my time as a leader over the years, part of it has been to encourage people that they are capable of doing something more than what they're currently doing. I have always gone into even an interview process recognizing that if we select any particular candidate, we might get to keep them and have access to their gifts and talents and abilities for just a couple of years. Because a lot of people come through your doors and they have a lot more that they want to pursue down the road. And the position that you're hiring for, that might just be a stepping stone for them. A lot of people are not coming into jobs sticking around for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. They just don't do that anymore. And with good reason. Organizations typically change so much, even over the course of about 5 or 10 years, that it makes it very difficult to think that that same organization and structure is going to be there 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road. So there are so many different things that change politically, economically, that impact how an organization is is continuing to move through business. So nothing stays stagnant. We live in a dynamic environment and we have to be able to adjust with the environment. So that's why I think it's really important that we be able to identify what those external dream killers are so that you can learn to adjust and modify your behavior accordingly. So then, what about the internal dream killers? Number one, I would say that's at the top of the list is fear. If you have the fear that you cannot do something, chances are you won't. You won't even try. And fear is something that kind of undergirds a lot of the inaction. And if you start to think through why you haven't done something, it goes back to that very thing. If you're overthinking doing something, part of that is fear, which leads to procrastination. Even if you do know how to do something, but you're insecure about doing that thing, well, you procrastinate and you put it off and you continue to push it down the road and continue to push it until you cannot avoid it any longer. And what I would say to you is this: if you have already demonstrated that you have the aptitude to do a thing, just go for it. You should apply yourself to that very thing or make application to whatever job it is. I don't care if it's a side hustle, try it. You owe it to yourself to try whatever it is that you have dreamt of doing. And, again, work, we all have to do it. It's a necessity. But if there's an opportunity to do something that you enjoy and get paid for it, you definitely should do that. And I'll take even my own life example because the change that I've made recently with my career has taken me to an organization that is completely different from the last job that I had. And I work with some wonderful people. And in my past job, I worked with some wonderful people. But there's a different air about this organization where I currently am. And people are happy to show up to work. They they are happy even though uh, resources are tight, constraints are there. And we might be missing some things. I don't know fully because I haven't been there long enough to really fully assess all of the ins and outs of this organization. But it is such a pleasure to walk in and everybody is happy to see you. So, go figure. And not to say that people weren't happy to see me or, their other colleagues at my last organization, but when I tell you that the air is different, had I not taken the step to apply for the job thinking that, nobody will hire me, or maybe just being afraid that it just couldn't happen, I would be in my last job and I would potentially be feeling stuck if I had stayed with that mindset. So you have to have a discussion with yourself and whatever issue you are encountering that would cause you to be fearful of moving forward. Sometimes, you have to go cold turkey and say, I'm just not listening to it. And other times you have to dissect that thing and try to pull it apart to see what exactly it is that's causing you to be fearful of moving forward. Because you can do it. If you're in a job right now that requires some level of certification or even a degree, you've already demonstrated that you have the certification and the diplomas and degrees, whatever the case may be. If you're trying to do something different and maybe you need to acquire some certifications and or a degree, well, step across that threshold. You need to find out what it is that's going to be required to get that thing done, but you owe it to yourself to do that. And you need to also ask yourself, what is the barrier? Is it the barrier that is making me fearful because you think that you won't be able to get access to whatever it is, whether it's time, whether it's money, or any other thing that you can think of that might cause that hindrance? You have to figure it out and you have to make a decision so that you can move forward. And then this other thing that I have on my list is imposter syndrome. A lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome. And I don't know if a lot of you have heard of imposter syndrome, but this is merely thinking that you feel like you're faking it, that the position that you hold, that you are not really the person who belongs in that position, and that other people are at some point going to find out who the real you is. Well, what's funny is I've read a little bit about imposter syndrome and I've heard people talk about imposter syndrome. I feel like I have suffered from imposter syndrome. And more specifically, when I served in an interim role, an interim executive role, I definitely felt like I had imposter syndrome because one of the thoughts that I had was, well, who do I think that I am? Or I don't know that I can actually do this job. And what's crazy is everyone was telling me what a wonderful job that I was doing. This is not with me asking or prompting. They were telling me this on their own because of what they saw, what I demonstrated for them and my abilities to carry out the job duties. So, some of the stuff we're just kind of conjuring up in our heads and listening to that inner child that somewhere along the line was told that they were incapable of doing something. It's not true. You're already doing some really good work. So just continue to push forward so that you can get to the next level and realize whatever it is that you want to attain. But it's completely up to you. If you continue to listen to the voice in your head, yeah, well, you can be quite certain that it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're not going to attain the goal. You're not going to reach the goal. And then, just stop talking negatively to yourself. It's not worth it. Every one of us wakes up wanting to do something good. We want to pursue something that is worthwhile. And you're at a job, you've already demonstrated that you can do the job. And I don't care what kind of job it is, because we all have to start somewhere. This is why we do entry level work. When you're in high school, you might take a job at the fast food restaurant down the street. You might work at the movie theater. There are a whole host of things that help young people to get acclimated to work because we all have to start somewhere, and you continue to build and build and build until you get to a place where you feel some level of satisfaction. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer for us to figure out what that actually is. And sometimes some of us are actually really quick to figure out what that is. But you have to at least put some effort forth in doing it, and the effort is only a part of it. Okay, the effort is only a part of it because we can do things actively and still mentally not be fully there. So, I say all of this to say, well, let me rephrase that. I say this to say to you um, that there are things that we can do to move ourselves forward and project ourselves forward. There are also things that we can do to cause ourselves to be paralyzed. You do not want to paralyze yourself and listen to the voice in your head that tells you that you can't do something. If you look at your life right now, you've probably already, you can look at number of things that you have accomplished that have that have propelled you forward. Look at those things. Don't look at the past failures because all of us have failed at something, and you might continue to fail at something. But failure can actually be a good thing because you can learn a lot about yourself and what you need to do differently during the failure. Don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid of what other people think about your failure because really it's none of their business. Get into the habit of living your life not for other people and what they think, but for what is good for yourself and for your family. And consider that carefully, in the bigger picture. So, what do you do now? Well, first, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to continue to listen to the naysayers. If they're continuing to talk down the dreams and the goals that you have, make a decision that you won't share that information with them. You can continue to exchange pleasantries, but maybe you don't need to eat lunch with them. Maybe you don't need to spend time with them after work. I don't know what your situation is. You do, but you have to figure out what is best suited to help you to achieve your goals. And sometimes that means stop listening to people, and it also means stop listening to your own voice that is telling you that you can't accomplish that. So this is really what I want you to do next. Now, writing is a good thing. And it kind of helps to impress upon our minds and helps us to remember things. What I want you to do is write down something that you want to achieve, your dream, whatever type of job that it is that you would prefer to have, the type of position that you would want to be in. Write it down, okay? And then I need you to write down what is it that is preventing you from pursuing that. Ask yourself that question and answer it. Is it one thing? Is it two things? Is it time? Is it money? Is it any other type of resource? Is it location? It might require you to do something pretty major, but you at least need to see it in writing so that you can really start to parse out the things that are causing you some issues. And then choose one small step to take. Decide what it is that you can do to impact that dream, to get you closer to your dream. Maybe if you do have a boss that is open to conversation and is willing to help you to fine tune some things about your work, they would be willing to have a conversation with you to provide you some feedback and some information that would be able to help you to navigate what your next step could be. Be open to it, but be discerning, okay? You just always want to remember that you want to be discerning. Once people show you who they are, believe them. So if people have demonstrated to you that they do not have your best interest in mind, that they have no interest in encouraging you or even helping you to move along the way and progress, again, stop sharing information with them. And then set boundaries. Set boundaries around people and set boundaries around yourself. When your mind starts to run away with thoughts that you can't do something, you have to stop that dead cold. Just put an end to it and redirect and focus on what you can do to accomplish it, excuse me. And again, look back at some of the things that you've done in the past that have been successful. There is something that you have completed that has worked out well. You can do it again. It can be replicated. And, at this point, it's time to really turn the page and move forward and do something different because we want to put an end to the dream killers, okay? You need to slay fear. You need to slay procrastination. You need to slay all of these things that are standing in your way and get them out of your life. We are at the conclusion of today's episode. And I hope that some of this hit home with you. And if it has, I would like for you to commit to taking the next move. And additionally, if some of this has resonated with you, share it. Share it with somebody you know. And remember to subscribe and to follow so that you can keep up with the latest and the greatest episodes. And finally, If you have a story that you would like to share, I would love to hear about it because we might just feature it on a future podcast. So send an email to me to theshanita.brown@gmail.com. Shanita spelled Shenita. And finally, leave a review for me. Tell me what you think about this. And as we close, I really appreciate that you have joined me and given me some of your time. And if you've been challenged by something that you've heard, reflect, decide, and move. It is completely up to you. And there's no amount of motivation that anyone can give you that will cause you to act. You have to make that choice. And remember that crossroads reveal who you are, catalysts shape who you become. Be relentless. Until next time.